Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Engine Room podcast. We're back again here on the Monday with Bulgar and John. Bulgar, do you want to introduce yourself, my friend?
Yo, what's going on, guys? ¿Cómo están? Today I'm going to be silent. You're going to listen less as me because there's someone nailing something to their wall. So I'm going to try to be as quick as to the point as possible.
Okay, thank you very much, Bulgar. We'll try and get some insight from you as the episode goes on, though. Don't worry. And of course, John, we're also joined by John. And John, after I hand it over to you, do you want to take things on with the episode?
Yes, sir. Excited as always to join you boys on the Engine Room. Welcome to all the listeners. We're going to kick things off with Lionel Messi back in the headlines, not just for his form, which has been incredible. So I want your thoughts on that, but also his next steps. People are already looking past the World Cup. We're looking to next summer when his contract, as of right now, expires at PSG. So the question is, Inter Miami, renewal at PSG, a return to Barcelona, or other? What do we think? Pablo, back to you first, sir.
Yeah, well, what happens with Lionel Messi is going to be really interesting. I've got to say, I do think Messi will wait until after the World Cup to make a decision. I think maybe for a few years ago, Messi's idea would have been after the World Cup to go to a place like Inter Miami. I know we've heard this morning from very good journalist David Ornstein that actually could be the move Messi makes. But in my opinion, there's other options on the table. And the way Messi's playing makes you think that actually there's a big move in store, or at least stay at PSG. I mean, what I know for sure is that PSG's worst nightmare would be to allow Messi to go back to Barcelona. They utterly despise Barcelona, so they will literally throw the wealth of Qatar at Lionel Messi to make him stay at PSG. I'm sure of that, which I think makes things really interesting. And of course, he's settled into the team now as well. So let's see. I think PSG will have a part to play in where Messi is playing next season, I do. But we know that Xavi wants Messi back. We know Laporta wants Messi back. But it is about building that relationship again. Messi feels a bit betrayed by Barcelona. Players like Piqué even, I know Ter Stegen he doesn't see eye to eye with certain board members because of the way he left. So Messi, his next steps, it's all a bit in the air. So I'm really intrigued to see where it goes. Like I said, he may have been leaning towards an Inter Miami move, but because of the way he's been playing, the interest from Barcelona that is so strong, the fact that I think PSG will throw so much at him, it puts things in the air.
Yeah. Buga, what are your thoughts?
I think, honestly, it's more down to Messi himself. Like, I always thought that moving to PSG made sense in the context that he signed for 2 years. So 2 years means that he was going to try and achieve two things: win the Champions League and then win the World Cup with Argentina. So if he genuinely, let's say, if this season he wins the World Cup and he wins the Champions League, there is no reason for him, honestly, if I'm Lionel Messi. It depends on him. If he wants to continue playing top football, he will stay. But if he doesn't, he feels he has completed the game, the sport, he can just go to Inter Miami. I think that's how, honestly, the future of Messi will unfold. It all depends on what happens this year, what happens this season, what happens with the World Cup, and what happens with the Champions League.
Yeah, well said, Buga. I think you're dead on with saying that the influence is really going to come with what happens at the World Cup. Does Lionel Messi feel like he has anything to prove? For me, the more time that goes on, the further we get from Lionel Messi returning to Barcelona. I think from Lionel Messi's perspective, it really is a question of why. And the only reason in the positive for him to come back would be to repair the relationship. But if I'm Lionel Messi, that's not for me to repair. That's on Joan Laporta and the rest of those folks who have to live with that black eye. That doesn't damage Lionel Messi in the slightest. Something that doesn't get talked about a lot is the anxiety that Messi had while at Barcelona. And we know that he feels it for Argentina. So if I'm Lionel Messi and I'm going, well, I can get paid buco bucks to either stay at PSG or go to Inter Miami, where I will literally be on the beach 24/7, or I can take less money and take all of Barcelona's problems on my shoulders again. And I don't think Lionel Messi wants that. On top of that, he'll be walking into what is pretty much a brand new locker room. No Suarez. Jordi Alba will be gone. Piqué, I know they're not close anymore, but he'll be gone. Busquets might be gone. And you know what? A couple of those guys might be waiting at Inter Miami for him. So I think I'll wait and put a firm opinion on it once the World Cup happens. But I think Lionel Messi either renews at PSG, or he calls it a day and he goes down to MLS and treats it like a retirement league. That's what I'm thinking from the GOAT, Lionel Messi.
Yeah, I think you're right, actually, John. I mean, the more I think about it, we'll see, because there have been some strong rumours linking Messi back to Barca, and sometimes you maybe think that this is something that could happen, but you make good points, you do, and just the more you think logistically about it, is Messi actually going to be coming back to Barca at the end of the season? When you really think about it, it seems unlikely.
Yeah. We talked about the form that he's been in, and PSG as a whole, I think, have been on fire, really hitting their stride. Neymar, Mbappe, and Messi might have put their conflicts aside. They might actually be on the same page going into knockout rounds of Champions League, which is dangerous for everybody. So, Buga, PSG, how far do they get this year? How successful of a campaign is PSG going to have?
I think actually kind of moving or taking the point that we discussed about Messi's future, it also depends here when you mentioned that trifecta. You mentioned Neymar, Mbappe, Messi. You can see how Mbappe, we talked about in the last episode, he's a little bit nervous. He doesn't really like the situation that now he was before the face of PSG, but it seems that now more people recognize PSG because of Messi. That maybe actually that could also have an effect on Messi's future. I just kind of thought that, because if Messi feels comfortable in this PSG side, and we can see that now based on his form, he can lead this team with goals and assists, and also creating, and the way that the formation of Galtier fits into Messi. I really do like the parallel. For instance, I thought that a very good Messi was the one, and you're going to be surprised, the one that we played for Barcelona, the back 5 that Koeman used to play, and that Messi was just 3, and in front of him he had Griezmann and Dembele. Yeah. He didn't have any defensive responsibility. He could just simply pick the passes, and it's something very similar to what he does at PSG. So that can still kind of like elongate his career. So I think that PSG do have a nice system that suits Messi more than what actually would suit what before was let's say the figurehead of PSG, that was Mbappe. So how far can they go? For me, it all depends, of course, who they get in the Champions League and whatnot. It seems that whenever they get Real Madrid, they're going to go out. It seems that they're always destined to fail. So for me, it really depends on which teams they get. Because that one year that they didn't get Real Madrid, they went all the way to the final. So it's possible that PSG can do it.
They had Thomas Tuchel, Puga.
I was waiting for that one. Walked right into that.
Yeah, but although maybe they had Thomas Tuchel, but the thing is that also they managed to be like a Bayern team. That Bayern was going to be the favorite to win that season. So it's kind of like they are competitive. But it seems that just when it comes to the mental aspect of the game, that's where they lose. And what team is mentally stronger than Real Madrid? None. So I think that it depends on that. And win the league, they can win the league. The other trophies in France, they can win it. So yeah, it's a Champions League really. So I don't know. I don't think they're going to win it, because I just know that Real Madrid will somehow sneak into their fixture list for the end of the competition.
Pablo, what are your thoughts, man? Are they going to finally break the ceiling? Are they going to get to the title this time?
I don't think they are, actually, no. I don't think PSG are going to win the Champions League. But I got to say, they've got a much better structure to do it, in my opinion. When you've got Messi on that sort of form, there's always danger, by the way. So you never know. But I don't think PSG are going to win the Champions League. I don't know if they're strong enough in midfield as well, by the way, behind the 3, with just Verratti, and is it Vieira who they're playing, and then next to him is his name? Vitinha. I'm not sure if that's strong enough to hold out in a Champions League game, in my opinion. But I prefer the structure. I think they're playing far better under Galtier. That front 3 is on fire, by the way. And like I said, that actually can turn a Champions League tie, to be fair. So we don't know, but in my opinion, I don't think they're going to win the Champions League. I'm always quite stern on that, actually, with PSG.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to be optimistic about them lifting the trophy. Similar reasons. I think they don't face enough of a challenge domestically to stay sharp. I think that who knows what players' motivation and fitness levels are going to be like after the World Cup. You think about Neymar and Messi in particular. A lot of miles on those legs. World Cup could be a long tournament for those two. So you could see them slip up a bit. And then on top of everything, if you don't have the defense figured out, you're not going to lift trophies. We even see Manchester City sometimes with all the firepower they have. Sometimes they struggle for goals, but they're defensively sound. That's what you need to have. So I'm with the two of you. I'm not convinced. I'm not sold on it. I think they maybe need one or two more pieces defensively. And I think by the time they put that together, Neymar, Messi go somewhere else. And now, whoops, we're PSG and we're rebuilding again.
Yeah, agreed.
Keeping with Champions League, boys. Few disappointments. We talked about Juventus quite a bit, so we'll move on past them. But a couple other big names out. Atletico Madrid, Barcelona going down to Europa League. Buga, this one's over to you. Which is a bigger surprise? Which is a bigger disappointment to you? Aside from our personal feelings of Barcelona, of course. Atletico and Barcelona, objectively speaking, what's a bigger loss?
I mean, it's obvious. It has to be Barcelona. Like, Lewandowski cannot be playing Thursday night football. That's a catastrophe. That's a crime to football. That's honestly, that shouldn't happen. And of course, you can say it's a bigger loss or a biggest flop because the money that they invested in the summer transfer window, that for me just is enough to say that this is a big disappointment. Of course, this is still very early on in the project. I think that people also forget that. But as a club, as an institution, it's still unacceptable. And I always like what Paulo mentioned, and he made me see differently, let's say, a few episodes back, because he said like how it's unacceptable for Barcelona to be in this situation. And yes, it's 100% unacceptable. Like when you're a Barcelona fan, you do not expect yourself to be in these situations. And it's honestly, I don't know about you guys, but for me, it's just simply, I know you said no bias, no emotion, but it for me is impossible to feel kind of more disappointment now. It's just the reality of it. Every single loss, I just expect it. You know, it's like the norm now. And that for me is completely unacceptable in its own right.
Oof. All right. Pablo, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I like what he said actually there, Bulgar, about the fact that it's become the norm, because it has, we're actually expecting to be battered 3-0 at the Camp Nou by Bayern Munich every time they come now. Like, and that I'm not saying that's fine last season, but it is more fine when you've got like Yusuf Demir and Dest on the wings. When you've got this team that Barcelona have got, it's not okay anymore. And maybe we've just slipped into that mediocrity, and that's why I always hold the standards so high with Barca and also Chelsea, to be fair, because you don't want to slip into that subcategory. And Barca have now slipped into it. It's Europa League 2 seasons in a row. And I mean, like I said before, to be fair, I've ranted quite heavily about this after the Inter game because it was already done then. The Bayern game, for me, not that relevant. We were already out by then. It is what it is. It's crap, obviously. We know we're not at the level, but it was after the Inter game where I ranted, and I've just got similar things to say, so I won't go over it too much. It's just unacceptable. Like Bulgar said, for me, it's embarrassing. That it's just not on in any sense of the word, and just it's really poor for Barcelona's season. It's a massive dent in the season. I mean, having said that, if Barca win La Liga, Europa League and Copa del Rey, the Supercopa as well, then we're looking at an incredible season, but it's a massive if. It's a huge if, and I think it does dent the season, and after the summer we had it wasn't acceptable, so it's not a normal thing to have happened, and it's really bad news for Barca. For Atletico Madrid, it's bad news as well, by the way, because they're just stagnating under Simeone, really. They had another poor defeat in La Liga this weekend. They actually haven't been doing badly in La Liga this season, but I don't know, there's a João Felix issue, 120 million on a player who's not really doing much for the club or who the manager doesn't like. Reminds me a bit of some of Barca's signings, actually. But they've got far too much quality to be playing the poor football they do, in my opinion. And I don't know, they've been stagnating for a while now, in my opinion, Atleti. And again, that's the group they should have gone through in the Champions League, and that they haven't. They really should have gone through and topped that group. And, well, they could barely get the ball in the back of the net. So, yeah, issues for them.
Yeah, I was thinking about this over the weekend. It might be time for a manager change at Atletico. I know that's blasphemy, and I'm sure even just mentioning that, I'm going to get some hate from the Atletico faithful, but I'm just saying it's time to evaluate. I wouldn't pull the trigger right now. I would let him at least see out this season, but it's on my radar, I'll say. For Barcelona, boy, I haven't stopped thinking about Barcelona, and one of the thoughts that come to mind is that similarly to how Joan Laporta has come out and said, whoa, I didn't realize until we got here how bad the finances were. I think culés are just now starting to realize how far Barcelona have actually dropped from being an elite club since Lionel Messi left. I think Lionel Messi held us above water for so many years that we just forgot that without him, we're actually a Europa League side. Since 2016-17, you take Lionel Messi out of the equation, and we don't have any kind of high expectations for trophies. So I think we are getting ahead of ourselves in terms of our expectations because we didn't realize how far we've actually dropped. With that said, I fully acknowledge the reality that it's not good enough. With the summer signings that we made, we should have been out of Champions League group stage, 100%. I acknowledge that. We shouldn't have these boring matches where we're squeaking in a last-minute goal against a Valencia. We should be doing better. Full acknowledgement. With that said, there's a lot of people right now who feel like there has not been progress made under Xavi. So for anybody in that camp, let me just share with you. 10 clean sheets out of 12 matches. That's progress. Ter Stegen had 11 clean sheets in all of last season. We are seeing the very best Dembele we've ever seen, and he's staying healthy. That's progress. That's Xavi. We are in second place right now, only a point or two down from Real Madrid compared to 9th place at this time last year. That is progress under Xavi. Benching Jordi Alba to bring in Balde, who is flourishing. That is progress under Xavi. So while we are not where I would like us to be, and it is painful at times as a Barcelona supporter, focus on the progress. That is my message to the culés around the world, is focus on the progress that has been made, and let's lower our expectations for the next year or two.
No, I think it's fair that you said that, actually. I like the way you went back also to 2016-17 season. And I think a good place to start, actually, when discussing where Barcelona went wrong is always after Neymar left. Because after Neymar left, I think everything dropped. I remember actually in that summer that Valverde came in, we lost the Supercopa to Real Madrid over 2 legs, 5-1. I think everyone thought, oh my goodness me, right, this is where the real Barcelona are going to be unmasked here. All the players were aging. But what Valverde did is, and he may have actually set Barcelona back by doing this, is he masked all of that. He got the veterans playing well again. Barcelona played a less stylistic brand of football, won La Liga by, I think, like 18 and 17 points 2 years in a row over Real Madrid. And then everyone thought it was good again, and he got the best out of Messi and Suarez. But by doing that, was he actually setting Barcelona back? Barcelona then, probably after Neymar left, should have started that revolution. We should have started planning ahead and getting people like Piqué and Busquets and Alba and Rakitic and Suarez and Vidal, who came later, all these people, these 30-year-olds, out of the team when they were still at a good level. But that's what the best teams do. And we didn't. We kind of just covered it over. And I think that's made this process even more difficult to get over. And then you've got the horrible Champions League defeats and that, and the fact that Bartomeu and the finances and all of that. But it makes me step back and think, actually, should we just appreciate a bit of a rebuild here? And I like the stats you brought up as well about the progress on the Xavi, and it has been good. Because I got to think back, I remember this time last year, we just sacked Koeman, actually, and we were woeful. We were an awful football team, by the way. Like, we went into games and I actually knew actively we were going to lose the game. Like Rayo away, just like, we are not winning this football match. That's unacceptable. Rayo away, you have to go in and win that game as Barcelona. So you have to appreciate the progress. It sucks going out the Champions League, and I'm the first to say, as you guys know, that I think it's out of order because I think it is after the summer, but the progress is there. And sometimes in football, I especially need to be told that there is more of a process that needs to be made.
We know you love the trophies, Pablo. We know it. Buga, how are you feeling? Are you still Captain Doom and Gloom about this? How are you feeling?
Dude, I just realized we were 9. What? 9?
Yeah.
At this time of the season? Like, that is crazy, man. And yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that the plan that Bartomeu wanted was kind of squeezed as much as he can from the top players that we had at that age. And I honestly do feel like Pablo says about Valverde, I do feel that you have to give kudos to Valverde. Like, he actually did manage to be pragmatic and get the best out of the players that at the end of the day, they were supposed to retire by the end of that season. So it's kind of like he did an incredible job. And when you mentioned how do I feel, yes, I feel there is progress being made 100%. I always will say this. I feel that even though we are still progressing and going forward, there are still things that I believe needs to be improved on. Like Xavi is not the finished article. Some of the players that we're bringing through, they're not the finished article. Like even though you might want to say, okay, Gavi needs to be the starter week in and week out, I don't think that has to be the case. I feel that there's still in this sport, like, will next season Barcelona be better with these 19, 20-year-olds? I don't feel there's ever going to be a team that will be able to win a Champions League with a player average of like 21 years of age. I don't think that's possible. I feel that there still needs to be more of a transition. I think the rebuild is happening. Now we need to get the old players of the squad. Like I always say this, Jordi Alba now is not a starter. It took Barcelona 8 years to realize that. 8 failures to realize that. Like he could have still been a starter, but there was never another player that could have taken that mantle. And now we're stuck in a position where we're getting rid of a 30 something year old, 34, 35, 33, 32. And the replacements are 19 years of age, 20 years of age. For me, there needs to be an age profile in the middle, like a 25. For me, that is why it was so important to get Christensen, Kessie, and Rafinha. All of them 25 years of age. I think they're perfect in a moment in time where they're at their peak. They can learn. Because Barcelona, if you realize it, Barcelona were never a team that would buy the finished article. We started to buy a Coutinho, started to buy a Griezmann, we started to buy all of these players. When in reality, Barcelona, they were the club, like a Liverpool for Coutinho, that would transform a player that was average and make them that world-class player. Rakitic came into the team and he became one of the best midfielders in the world, but it wasn't the other way around. It's always Barcelona sign these players before kind of their final move. So, and that I feel that is what Barcelona need to get back to. And for me, that is where next season we need to find out, those right back, 25-year-old right back, 24. There are not many in the market, but a player like that, a pivot like that, that is why I see those links to Ruben Neves or all the other players like that, because I feel that is where Barcelona need to start getting back to, and that's how they'll return and make competitive. I don't know about you guys here. I'll kind of throw another question if there's time about, do you feel that that's the answer? Because I feel that the roadmap for Barcelona is in place. I feel that Xavi is the right manager to get us there, but some people I feel also are going 100% like, you need to 100% trust in Xavi and whatnot. And I still feel that there is criticism to be held to Xavi, to the players, to the board. There's always self-improvement, because I still feel that Xavi is learning about being a manager. And that is why we have to be really, really patient. And I hate to say this, but the example of Arteta, for instance, Arsenal, people used to bully them so much. And now it's like they're playing good football, because not only did the players get better, Arteta managed to get a better squad, but him as a manager got better himself.
I think Barcelona are absolutely on track. And, I've gotten on the hype train with everybody else. It seems like, Barcelona, it just brings out the best and the worst. You know what I mean? We win 4-0 and, we're going to be the next Champions League winners. And then we drop some points or we get knocked out of Champions League and it's all Xavi out. We haven't made any progress. So it's very hot and cold. And I think we're just kind of at that point where we are better than most clubs in the world, but we're still a leg behind the best clubs in the world.
I agree with that. I think that's exactly where we're at right now.
Yeah. All right. We could spend some time talking more about La Liga, but we're going to move on to English Premier League, because that Real Madrid-Barcelona title race, that's going to be going on all season long. So we'll circle back to that on another episode. Let's jump over and talk about Premier League. And let's begin with Liverpool losing at home to a struggling Leeds. Let's go USA. Virgil van Dijk breaking his 70-game home winning streak. Let's get some reactions to that. Pablo, over to you, sir.
Yeah, well, nightmare season so far for Liverpool. Just when it looks like they're coming back, really. I mean, Van Dijk held his streak against Haaland's Man City, and I think everyone thought he was going to go there miraculously. And then he's gone and lost it 2 weeks later to Leeds. I mean, who knows what's going on at Liverpool, really? I mean, the week before they lost to Nottingham Forest as well. That just really poor defeats. And I've got sympathy for them. I have, because I think they've got a lot of injuries and they've got a lot of players missing, actually. I think Klopp is right about that. He makes a lot of excuses, but they have got a lot of players missing, and other clubs don't have that. It's that simple. Liverpool are not playing their best starting 11. They haven't done it all season, actually. So that hurts teams. It does, because I've been in that shape as a Chelsea fan a lot of the time, and we're kind of in it now, actually, where we're looking at, 4 players injured, and it's like, well, that is going to affect things. And in Barca, we know that with Koundé and Araujo and stuff. It changes the dynamic of the team. So Liverpool missing a lot of players, but I just think that the Klopp cycle is slowly coming to an end. I think maybe the arrogance, the way they used to come into games, it's kind of catching up with them. They're just not playing as well. They've missed big players in attack. I mean, Nunez hasn't been able to replace how prolific Mane was, and Salah's not working as well in that new front three. I mean, you even look at reliable players like Fabinho, though, who's playing so poorly. Van Dijk is another one for me who people make jokes about defending with his aura, but he actually does it sometimes. I'm not going to lie. That Van Dijk needs to apply more pressure to the ball, because he's just standing there. It's like, mate, well, you are going to be punished, eh? And he is being punished. So Liverpool, real problems right now, and they're just not looking good enough. A big win for Jesse Marsch and Leeds.
Yeah, much needed. Buga, what's your reaction to Liverpool losing at home there?
The Van Dijk, yes, he's an amazing center back, but like Baldo says, sometimes he's just like, oh, my aura, just because I'm such an Adonis, I'm gonna defend this, and he doesn't do anything. He doesn't put any pressure at all. I think Liverpool's problem right now is mentally. I think it's really mentally. I don't think the message from Klopp is getting across. I feel that they need, similar to Barcelona, similar to other clubs, they just need this World Cup to regroup, to be able to get players back and be able to kind of just hold on to the last few matches, the rest of the season, to see where they can finish. For Leeds, I feel they had an incredible game. I really feel that the way that they play is really impressive. They go all out aggressive. They even without Bielsa, they're a little bit more composed, yes. And you, John, are going to be happy with this, but I just love Jesse Marsch as a character. I really do. USA, come on. And I really like that. I really like what he's building at Leeds United. It makes sense. And it's unfortunate, really, for him at the moment. Maybe it's just not the right club to do it at. And that's what I feel. I feel the Premier League, you need to be a little bit more pragmatic, just be able to get the wins, because you don't know what's going to happen. Every team in the Premier League has like an A-star player that can simply turn the game on its head. And I feel that that's where perhaps in other leagues that doesn't really quite happen. The team, the collective, can pull out results. And yes, for Liverpool, it's unfortunate. And I think we're going to be getting more into bigger disappointments later in this episode. So I want to save some for that.
Yeah. Okay, well, good. Just to touch on Leeds for a second, I think Jesse Marsch has that personality it's attractive, right? It's easy to get behind. He's passionate, he's fiery, he's mouthy at times. He's got a bit of an attitude, and you see him on the sidelines yelling and screaming at his players. But what I saw at the end of the match were several players going up and giving Jesse Marsch a big hug. I think the players are bought in. To Buga's point, you need to be a bit more practical, right? But I think the players are bought in. I think they've got some talent at Leeds that can still step up. And I think Leeds will be safe. I think they're going to be safe. They're not going to get into, European football or anything like that. But I think they're going to be safe this year. Moving on then. Chelsea. I want to start some with Buga, but Pablo, this is your territory as well. So, Pablo, back to you again. Reaction to Chelsea. Is this a one-off? Should we be worried if we're Chelsea supporters?
Vaguely worried, yeah, because it kind of comes back to what I was trying to say when people were saying about how good Potter is I kind of said, how good actually are Chelsea? Is the question I posed in the last week. And this answered my question, actually. And this was kind of, I'm not happy, obviously, but I'm almost like, people can open their eyes a bit now, because it's not like Tuchel just left and it's like, wow, we're back on top of the world, which does often happen at Chelsea with new managers. We just sack a manager and win a Champions League. So it is a bizarre club, but the same problems are still there. The profiles aren't right. Chelsea relentlessly play games without their best players due to injury. Reece James plays half the season. Kante plays a third of the season. As Bulgar drops out, he's as fuming as me. You've got Koulibaly, who's injured now as well. Fofana's injured now as well. And that kind of plays into Liverpool. But I'm not saying it's all injuries, because it isn't, and I'll get on to why it isn't in a minute. But Chelsea played too many big games without 4 or 5 key players, and there's no structure in the team. But I think that result's been coming for Chelsea. A bit too kamikaze in the lineups from Potter. You can't play that attacking, that setup. I think Pulisic right wing back, Sterling left wing back, Cucurella left centre back. no Jorginho midfield, no holding midfielder, just bizarre. And you'll get punished for that. And it was Brighton's dream day at the office, really, because we gave them so many damn chances to run at us and no one in midfield. It was awful to watch. And it's been coming for Chelsea. Like I said, I mean, too bizarre, the structure. And I think just because Chelsea, we haven't been papering over cracks, and we have improved since Potter's come in, since Tuchel was quite a poor start to the season under the German coach. But it's an eye-opener that Chelsea's problems still exist. We spent an awful lot of money in buying attackers, and none of them produce on a consistent basis. Not one of them you say is, get the ball to him, he's going to score. Not one. And there's about 250 to 300 million pounds worth of attackers in there. It's just awful, really, to think about. Midfield, the profiles are missing. Chelsea have said they needed to sign a defensive midfielder for summer. And, we say about Declan Rice every summer, never happens. And then in defence, like I said, we've got a lot of players injured. So a bit of an eye-opener for Chelsea, in my opinion. I do wonder where we'll actually end up this season. For me, it's a case of I have to kind of sit back and accept some of these results, because it is more of a project with Potter, and maybe I'll have to accept a few lesser seasons for hopefully the greater good to kind of revolutionise the club in a different way, because the problems are there, and I think they got exposed on the weekend.
Yeah, I think, comparing to Barcelona's woes, Barcelona at least seemed to have a plan set in place. You might take some back steps here and there, but I don't think Chelsea have their plan set in place yet. And maybe it's too early, right?
Yeah.
New manager came in. Perhaps this whole idea of moving away from Tuchel wasn't actually well thought out. And so they're just kind of operating off of the momentum of that decision, I do see that gleam in your eye when you talk about this not being an immediate turnaround once Tuchel left. And I think that's usually the case, right? I think managers these days get a lot of the blame. And I'm not sure, to be fair, I'm not sure how much of an influence a manager really has outside of setting the tactics and setting the lineup. And then the players got to perform. And you said it, Chelsea have a wealth of talent. Sterling, Pulisic, Havertz, the list goes on. Mason Mount, the list goes on, right? Yes, there's injuries, sure. But even with an own goal or two, 4-1 to Brighton shouldn't be happening. I don't think that's, as we said about Barcelona, it's not acceptable performance. So I think they need to find their identity. And I'm not sure from an outside perspective, it doesn't seem clear who really has the reins at Chelsea. Who's the leader at the club in terms of the players right now?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think this is what Chelsea, I suppose, trying to find in Potter. I suppose we've decided that we're not. Everything's a bit crazy. We don't know. We've got different players from different managers. What direction are we going in? Okay, here's Graham Potter. This is what's going to happen for the next 4 years. Everyone get behind this. I suppose that's the aim, and that's why I'm going to be patient and say, okay, if they're actually moving the club in the right direction and building some foundations at board level as well. By the way, there's a lot of changes at Chelsea in the sporting team and whatnot. So it's a whole revolution from Todd Bowley, and he's put Potter at the helm of it, obviously on the football side, and he's probably a step down in manager from Tuchel, and that's why we will see some more results at the Brighton game, which kind of hurts. And it's like, are we going backwards here? But the hope is, for me, that things change at Chelsea, which sounds weird to say, because I think bar Man City, or maybe even level with City, we've won the most titles under since Abramovich came in. So it's like, well, what do you want to change? But it's a bit unsustainable at Chelsea. Chelsea haven't come close to the Premier League since 2017. So clear that things aren't stable there, despite the cups and titles in between.
Yeah. Well, keeping with newer managers trying to make their waves at their club, Ten Hag had some good results over the weekend. Man United 1-0 over West Ham, and Ronaldo back in the lineup. Has he turned things around? Has the revolution begun at Manchester United? Buga, let's get your thoughts.
I think that Ten Hag, what he has done is been able to find the team that works best right now. I feel that when he came into the Premier League, we mentioned a little bit of Jesse March, he wanted to be a little more, let's say, attractive with his football, but he realized that you have to be a little more pragmatic. And I think that he's managed that transition well. And two players for me that have really changed this Manchester United side. One of them, first of all, is an ex-rival, Casemiro. I think Casemiro has played really good for Manchester United. Not only defensively, he's been able to aid them massively. It's how many years, ever since Mourinho, I think, and when he signed Matic, and after that one season that they reached Europa League, every single football fan has been noticing United need a defensive midfielder. And they finally do get one, and wow, they do change. It does provide protection. McTominay, Fred can do what they want, and I'm happy with it. But the one thing that they cannot do is defend. So it's good that you get a CDM there. And then also another player for me that right now is in very good form is Rashford. I think that Rashford playing as a number 9, but also kind of sliding to the left, it really works with his movement, and he's a player that really works with Ten Hag. And I feel that if he constantly keeps trying like that, he can be that forward that United needed. But then again, we go back to the same question. I feel that United are playing very well, but if you really want to reach back to the top of the best of heights, you may need to get rid of Cristiano Ronaldo in a sense.
Ooh, okay. All right. Back to Ronaldo then. I'm going to keep my mouth shut about Ronaldo because I apparently angered hundreds of thousands of people by opening my mouth, my American mouth, about the great Ronaldo. What's your take on United right now after this win over West Ham?
Well, I think United are doing a lot better. I think for the first time in years and years and years at United, maybe even since Sir Alex, that United have got themselves a manager that feels like it's a proper manager, a proper tactician, a proper project. I think there's still issues at board level with United where that may hold this team and Ten Hag back. There's a lot of politics and whatnot at United, but what we're seeing on the pitch, in my opinion, is a lot better. I don't think it's unbelievable. Like I think against Chelsea, it was quite a dead game. I thought they were very good against Tottenham. I thought they were good against West Ham. They weren't unbelievable. I still think they're not incredible in attack, actually, which they were actually very good in attack under Solskjaer, weirdly. But right now, they're just not as good in attack. And of course, Ronaldo's not firing, so that plays into it. But they look so much better to me, United. I mean, Lisandro Martinez is someone I want to highlight. I think he's quality, by the way, at the back. I mean, I know he got ripped into because of his height and whatnot in the first few games of the Premier League, but I really liked him at Ajax, and I'm happy for him because I think he's a quality centre-back. He's a bit of like a Mascherano, actually, at Barca. Very good at anticipating the ball. Super tough guy. He's good in the air as well for how small he is. He's been immense at Man U this season, by the way. For me, every time I watch Man U, and I've got a very close friend who's a Man U fan, so I watch almost all of their games, he is superb. He's the best player on the pitch by far. Lisandro Martinez, excellent centre-back. Diogo Dalot on the right back has also been a revolution under Ten Hag. He's been immense. He was brilliant against West Ham. So Man U looking a lot better, in my opinion, a lot better.
Yeah, I think Ten Hag has shown that he's the first manager at United since Alex Ferguson that can coexist with these big names on a level playing field. He doesn't have to be bigger than, but he also will check the players that try to act like they're bigger than he is or bigger than the club. The way that he handled this Ronaldo situation was absolutely perfect. Every manager in football should take a lesson from Ten Hag on how he responded to Ronaldo walking off against Tottenham. Ronaldo, in this match, before it kicked off, in warm-ups, he's out there with players doing sprints. He's high-fiving. He's giving hugs. He's the mayor of Manchester United, okay? That is because Ten Hag checked him, asked him to do better, and he did. And Ronaldo corrected his attitude and came back with a proper response. I think some of that, because I can't not give him a little bit of hate, is self-serving. Yeah. We're a few weeks away from the World Cup. He's going to be starring for Portugal. He cannot be riding the bench for United going into that World Cup. He wants to be playing. He wants to be sharp. For that to happen, attitude has to change. So, is it going to be all sunshine and rainbows between Ten Hag and Ronaldo moving forward? I'll say we'll see what happens after the World Cup. But for right now, I think Ten Hag did exactly what he needed to do. I credit him for his response. And like I said, I think every manager around Europe could take a lesson from his man management of that situation.
Yeah, I like what you said there about Ten Hag, actually, because you're right. He's managed that superbly well, by the way. And that's something I probably would have doubted that he would have been able to manage well. If he came in, I thought, good tactician, maybe good on the pitch, but managing egos, maybe not so good. But fair play. I mean, Ronaldo as well, throwing a tantrum like that, and he's been doing it all season long to nip it in the bud like he's done is really good. And it shows authority, which the United players need. They need to know that there's someone at the top of the club now who they can actually trust and that he's actually got backbone and that, okay, this is the guy to follow. Wow, let's listen to this guy. And they've got that now at Ten Hag. For now, anyway, things change so quickly in football, so we never know. But it's looking really good. And I don't know how far Man U will go this season or next season even, but I like the authority he's instilled in the club, and I think he's doing well for them.
Booga, any other thoughts on Manchester United or anything English Premier League?
Uh, Anything else Premier League? I think, look, we should mention Newcastle United. Like, because I've been surprised with what they did last week and what they done this week as well by beating 4-0 Aston Villa. Of course, Unai Emery doesn't start his new job at Villa just yet, but Newcastle United, they do look like a very good team. Bruno Guimaraes always controlling the midfield. I love that. And another player that I think we need to give a little bit of a shout out, and one that I'm 100% sure that I was not expecting him to be in the Premier League this long as he's been, is Miguel Almiron. Coming from the MLS, Paraguay, and now playing actually good football. It seems that him and Trippier are making a good partnership, and I'm just excited to see how Eddie Howe has managed to get this player playing back again football. He was at Atlanta United, and he was playing really good. He moved to Newcastle, and he disappeared completely. There was no player in him just yet, and now we finally start seeing, maybe a little bit too late, but thankfully he's still there. And yes, I think Mickey Almiron is playing really good football. So just wanted to give him a little bit of a shout out.
Absolutely, Buga. Good shout out there, and I appreciate you bringing up MLS. Don't sleep on the MLS. You know, we got some talent there. All right, so let's jump over then to our final segment of today. We're going to talk about some disappointments. We all did a little bit of reflecting. And we've got on our minds some disappointing clubs, some disappointing players. Buga, why don't we start with you? And we can do this however you guys want. You guys want to start with giving our teams first and then players? Are you guys going to tie these together? How do you want to approach it?
So I have like a list of certain disappointments. I have kind of 2 teams, 2 players. And yeah, I think the first one, I think, is going to be a little bit of a wild take, twisted take, you may say, but I think it's real. I'm honestly very, very surprised how Donny van de Beek has been completely forgotten about. What about this player, man? We expected Ten Hag to come in and actually revolutionize the side and have Donny van de Beek as one of the key players of his system. He was a player that he managed, that he took all the way to the semi-final of the Champions League, and he's disappeared completely. Even the likes of Fred McTominay are higher in the pecking order than someone like him. I don't know what's the issue with this player. Maybe he just completely forgot about playing the sport. I want to know what's up with him, because ever since he arrived to United, we've missed out, and the world of football has missed out on an incredible player. And I feel that, I don't know. I honestly, I'm extremely surprised that he's not even featuring for Ten Hag. He was supposed to be a player that on paper was perfect for him, but I guess that Ten Hag just decided not to. And I would love to be a fly on the wall to listen to the conversation that he has and why he's not playing. That's really what I want to know.
Man, did not see that one coming, Buga, but that is a good point. And yeah, amen to that. That Ajax team of 2019 was it? With Donny and Frankie de Jong and De Ligt and Tadic up top, right? That was an exciting team. All right, let's keep these going. Pablo, you give me one disappointment, either player or team this season.
I'll keep it on a player. I've got a few from the Premier League, and they might be a bit controversial. The first one I'm actually going to go is Jadon Sancho from Manchester United. I think it was only yesterday when Reece Nelson scored 2 goals against Nottingham Forest that he equalled Jadon Sancho's Premier League tally. And it's just like, this guy was signed as such like a producer from Borussia Dortmund, and I know he has some issues. I think he might have an issue with tonsillitis at the end of last season, which really affected him. Actually, something similar that Cucurella is suffering from now at Chelsea. But I don't know. Not good from Sancho. Not even assist wise. Just United aren't even playing him that much. I think he was just left aside against West Ham completely. When he is playing, it's like, get him off by the 60th minute, please. I don't know. No assists, little goals. Nothing really from Sancho, and I just find that odd because he came as such a big signing from Dortmund. That was the one everyone was talking about, and even last season, this season it's carried on. It's just not going well for Sancho at United.
Yeah, that's another good one, Pablo. Credit to you, sir. I'll stick with the English Premier League. I'm going to give you a player and a club because they're tied together, and I'm going to give you Jamie Vardy and Leicester City.
Ooh, yeah.
I've been a fan of watching this club ever since their historic title run. They've been one of the most fun teams to watch week in and week out. They are giant killers, but this year, not so much. Jamie Vardy, 13 matches played, 1 goal. It's not enough. He's been overachieving, right, for the last 7-8 years. So no hate towards him whatsoever. But my fear is that the magic has run out, that it's time to turn the page at Leicester, that they don't have the Jamie Vardy that they used to have. And I think it's costing them. Leicester down in 18th place right now. They should be mid-table or above, at least. I know there's other clubs that have developed, that have bolstered their squad, that have better financial backing even. But I want Leicester to be better than what they are right now, and so I'm pretty disappointed with them.
I think people always forget that Vardy's really old. Like even 2 seasons ago, he was already 33, 34. Yeah, and it's like, and now it's like, I'm really surprised that Leicester City didn't kind of safeguard their future a little bit better with a player like him, because the thing about an older player, an older striker, is that one day simply you can just not be it anymore, and that's what's happening with Barley right now. They don't have any other solution to jump to, and I think that is where the issue lies.
Yeah,
Pablo, did you have thoughts?
I was laughing at the joke actually, but no, I mean, what you could do is group Wolves into that category as well. If it actually with Leicester, I thought it was an interesting one. I just thought I'd add that on the end.
Yeah, well said. All right, I got one more Premier League one. Christian Pulisic. Yeah, just came into Chelsea with a lot of hype, a lot of expectations, and I would say for the first year or two, I think met them. But then it's been a slow decline, year over year. Goals and assists both going down, playing time going down, and when he is on the pitch, it's out of position. I think Christian Pulisic missed his window to leave this summer. I think his time at Chelsea is done, and I think he's up there with, I think, one of the most disappointing players this season across Europe.
Yeah, that's a good one. He's another one of Chelsea's attackers who we've spent a lot of money on, and who gets about 4 goals and 4 assists a season. Like, it's just, I mean, these guys aren't producing. I mean, Pulisic is, I sometimes feel bad for him. Like you say, he doesn't get many minutes. When he does, they're out of position. Like, playing right wing back, like, really, I don't know. It's not going to help him, obviously, is it? I worry for the US national team, I got to say, because it's not ideal, is it, having your star man just not really playing that much, and when he is, not playing well at all or in position. So, yeah, not good for Pulisic. He wanted to leave in the summer, by the way. That was something Pulisic actively wanted. He wanted a loan move to Man U or to even Newcastle, just something. Or abroad to Italy as well, was rumoured actually, with Milan, I think. So Pulisic, we know, wanted to move, and we know that he hated Thomas Tuchel, actually, weirdly. He did not like Tuchel at all, Pulisic. So maybe he's happy with Potter, but Potter's not playing him much either.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bummer to watch. Like you said, for U.S. men's national team supporters, it's not the look that we're going for going into the World Cup. But we've seen players before either not get the playing time or not find the form for their clubs, and then they get to the national team, and that's their opportunity to just let that all out, to just unleash everything that they've been holding back. So fingers crossed. I know we have a lot of World Cup content coming up on this channel, so stay tuned for that, folks. Before we wrap this up, Puga, give us one more disappointment from this year, either player or club.
Okay, so this one, quickly, I want to mention Liverpool. I think we're going to talk about Liverpool quite a lot. 8th place, come on, 9th place, I think they actually are. That's quite a disappointment. We already mentioned plenty of the reasons. We do want to get someone special about Liverpool that can explain about their situation. But for me, the biggest disappointment, 100% of this season so far, is no player, is no club, it's a nation. I'm going to go with England. I'm really disappointed. England coming into this World Cup. Like, when you take a look at the formation, the players that they still have, Luke Shaw is their starter left back. That cannot simply be happening. With the talent that you have, Southgate and everything coming into this competition, I've been doing a little bit of research, doing the starting 11 for our World Cup contents that are gonna be coming soon. And honestly, one of the biggest tasks was to try and find out what's gonna be the starting 11 for England. Because right now, I guess you just see Harry Kane, Sterling, and Bellingham rise, but the defense is a problem.
Yeah.
And if we're being realistic, Southgate is going to be taking Maguire to the World Cup. He's going to be taking Luke Shaw to the World Cup. He's going to be taking Pickford to the World Cup. And you cannot do that, man. And Trent Alexander-Arnold might not go to the World Cup. You know, that's the sort of things that's going to be happening with England. And it's just quite difficult to see how someone like a Tomori at Milan, who's playing amazing, out of his skin, doesn't get a cutting in this squad, or other players such as, I don't know, Aaron Ramsey. For me, he should be the starting goalkeeper for England in this tournament, and he's going to be substitute and maybe in the third choice goalkeeper. So that's just the sort of for me disappointment that I see in someone like Southgate. England altogether, I think they're a massive disappointment, because they could have made this World Cup their World Cup, but they're nowhere near. They are more troubles than ever before.
Yeah, that's a good one, because you're spot on about everything, about his selections, about how they've been playing, about the results. They have been awful, and it's not good what Southgate's doing. The only reason I wouldn't back that is because England, I think, are going to do well at the World Cup. They are my favourite, by the way. Like, they are. I just
interesting.
Like, they are crap. Like, I can't. When people ask me, I can't look at someone in the face and say, "Oh no, England are wonderful under Southgate. Oh, what a team! What a brilliant footballing side." I can't. But if you ask me, do I think England are going to get minimum World Cup semi-finals? Yes, I put money on the table at it, because they've got so many good players. They just set up in that bank of five, 2 DMs in front of it. They're going to get goals in attack with Kane, Saka, Sterling, Mount, Foden, whoever joke of a footballer they've got in attack. And they've just got that system that works for them. I mean, look, it might all unravel like it has in the Nations League, but it's why I'm always so hesitant with England, because they're not Real Madrid levels, because they don't actually win things. But they're, you know what I mean, in terms of where they're not that good, but then actually they're going to win games because of their structure. So that's why I'm hesitant on England. But you are spot on that they've been really poor.
You know what, Pablo?
Yeah.
I think you're onto something, and I wonder if maybe the lack of belief in England is going to mean less pressure for them. And better performances.
Yeah, they love that. They love thinking they're the underdog, even though they have the best players in the tournament.
Yep. Dude, I can just see Maguire scoring a last-minute goal against like Senegal in the round of 16 to progress to. You could see that. You can see like Maguire scoring a goal.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I'd put money on it.
King Maguire. Oh my gosh. All right. Any final thoughts to wrap us up, folks? Either one of you?
I think that's all.
Yeah, I think just follow us for World Cup content, because it's going to be coming soon. This is the last week of European football. So World Cup season begins afterwards.
World Cup season begins. Like Buga said there, we got a lot of content coming up from the Engine Room, so make sure you are subscribed. We're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, we're on TikTok, we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram. We're everywhere that you could find us. So keep tuning in every Monday for the podcast. Again, today we discussed Messi and his next move, PSG's form, Champions League disappointments, Atletico and Barca. We talked about a little bit of Xavi. We talked about Liverpool. We talked about Chelsea. We talked about Ten Hag, and of course gave some disappointments for this week. So again, thank you everybody for listening, and we'll see you next week on the Engine Room.
See you guys.
Take care.